Why do we identify with 21 Pilots? Is it just a couple of songs that we hum on our way to work? Or is there more to it? Put another way, is music just a recreational activity? Or does it influence us, shape us, guide us? In the first 3 episodes of this series, we've looked at some of the biggest stars in the world. All have managed to cut out a unique sound for themselves that is instantly recognizable. But what happens when we look at a band like 21 Pilots that seem to keep changing their style with every song, moving from hip-hop to electronic to reggae to punk? As we discussed in the last episode, you can't really understand the choices of an artist without first looking at their image. Where are they coming from and how are they coming across? So that's where we start. A good question to ask yourself when determining your image is, what would my biggest fan look like? Some marketers call this an avatar. In the case of 21 Pilots, let's call her the angsty teenager. Probably someone who would call themselves a realist, someone with a fascination for death, someone who's self-critical to a certain degree. What are some of the things that would probably speak to this kind of person? Number 1 is dark humor. There's a twisted kind of irony in thinking a lot about death and, well, being alive at the same time. With 21 Pilots, some of the darkest lines are delivered in a noticeably light fashion, such as this one.
Thank God it's Friday, 'cause Fridays will always be better than Sundays, 'cause Sundays are my suicide days.
This dark humor is also reflected in the fact that the band calls their fans the Skeleton Clique, and in many of their music videos, Tyler wears a skeleton costume. Was this just a random choice, or is this somehow a statement on taunting death? The darkness can also be found in their choice of notes. Unlike the artists we've analyzed before, 21 Pilots don't shy away from more dangerous notes, such as the flat 6 and its natural rub with the 5.
All my friends are heathens, take it slow.
Does this kind of darkness sound familiar? Listen to this. Definitely sets a tone, doesn't it? Unlike Marilyn Manson though, 21 Pilots find a way to take this darkness and to add some lightness back into it. In Heathens, I think this is done through the use of an innocent sounding melody. Here's all the stressed notes in Heathens. Compare this with Mary Had a Little Lamb. It's the same thing, and it's this simplicity, this nursery rhyme kind of quality that gives Heathens its twisted flavor. In the words of Tyler,
and I would say that we should take a moment and hold it and keep it frozen and know that life has a hopeful undertone.
Number 2, contrarianism. Listen to this.
They say it's your lane, boy, and we go where we want to.
That sums it up quite nicely, don't you think? The idea of intentionally doing it differently than what is expected of you. Let's look at a couple of songs and see what we would expect to happen and what actually happens. The first is a rhythmical shift in Heathens, where instead of a simple repetition, the 3rd and 4th lines start a little early. Here's what you're expecting.
All my friends are heathens, take it slow. Wait for them to ask you who you know. Please just don't make any sudden moves. You don't know the half of the abuse.
And here's what actually happens.
All my friends are heathens, take it slow. Wait for them to ask you who you know. Please don't make any sudden moves. You don't know the half of the abuse.
In Migraine, this is what you'd expect.
But I know we've made it this far, kid.
Instead, they give you this.
But I know we've made it this far, kid.
And finally, in one of my personal favorites, see how the notes fall in unusual places here.
I'm evil to the core. What I shouldn't do, I will. They say I'm emotional. What I wanna save, I'll kill.
So why not go with the simpler version? This is where the sense of contrarianism comes in. I think 21 Pilots are very aware of what is common, and they make a conscious decision to go against the grain, to do something different. In the words of Tyler,
honest, there's a few songs on this record that feel common. I'm in constant confrontation with what I want and what is popping in.
On a deeper level, I think this idea of doing something new with every song is a kind of self-criticism. You dislike what you've done in the past, so you keep changing course. Making the same mistake twice is the ultimate enemy. In an interview, Tyler put it like this: "We just want to outdo ourselves every time we come back somewhere." To sum it all up, here's a characteristic line that is all of the above: contrarian, self-critical, and it has that dark humor we talked about. Listen to this.
I wish I found some chords in an order that is new. I wish I didn't have to rhyme every time I sang.
In this line, the "I wish" is the self-critical part. Not rhyming is the contrarian bit, and the irony of singing about just that inability is the dark humor. Make sense? I actually have 2 points I want to make with this video. Number one is that image is not a formula. After the first 3 episodes, I've gotten quite a few people asking me which intervals they should use in their songs, but image doesn't have to be tied to certain intervals or chords. You decide how you want to use it. But if there is any sense to these videos at all, it is to show you that you can use your musical choices to create a musical world you would want to live in. And the more honest and appealing your world, the quicker you will find fans who will also want to live in it. For more on this, I put some recommended reading in the description. My second point is a personal one. If you're just here for cold facts, please feel free to turn off this video right now. I think if there's one thing to be learned from 21 Pilots, it is that angst or depression can be great catalysts for creativity. So if your life isn't all it should be at the moment, remember that music doesn't care if you're broke or ugly or dumb or whatever it is you think you are. I've written some of my greatest songs in my worst times, and the writing helped me get through them. The band name 21 Pilots is actually inspired by Arthur Miller's All My Sons, in which a man knowingly sells faulty airplane parts to provide for his family, thereby causing the death of 21 pilots. In interviews, Tyler has said that it's this struggle between doing the right thing and doing the easy thing that motivates him. It's easy to give up. It's easy to complain, to be cynical, to define yourself in opposition to something instead of by what you love. The hard thing is to do what sounds easy. Accept your shortcomings and keep putting one foot in front of the other. You don't have to do a great job right away. You don't even have to finish the next song you write. Just make sure you one-up yourself with everything you do. And then maybe someday you might realize that life indeed has a hopeful undertone.